What's up? Okay. All right. How you doing, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Will Johnson. UniteAmericaFirst.com is my website. UniteAmericaFirst.com is the website. Thank you so much for joining in. Now, I want to talk to you about a few different things. Here lately, I've been doing these videos just like this, and I just talk about one topic. But tonight, I want to talk about a couple different things with you. I want to share some stuff with you. The first one I want to share with you is about this drone getting clipped or what have you, the U.S. military drone getting clipped by a Russian plane and end up having the Russian plane or the U.S. drone go down into the water. Now, I'm going to show you some clips of a couple of generals actually talking about this, and they're not really giving that much detail about what's going to happen, what should take place, what we can expect, right? And I don't know what's going to happen, be honest with you. Are they going to retaliate, or do they think this is retaliation? But the interesting thing is that they're saying, the interesting thing to me is that they're saying the Russians are the ones that's out of order. They were doing some operations that they shouldn't have been doing, or horse playing or whatever, what have you. And there's no communications apparently between the United States of America and Russia right now. And my concern about all of this is because it looks like, again, like I've been saying before, and hopefully not, that they're going to take us into World War III. That's what it looks like. I hope that doesn't happen. We don't know. None of us want that to happen. Okay, I'm going to talk about that. And I'm also going to talk about Joe Biden signing an executive order. He signed an executive order, and it looks like they're going to come and take him. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, I'm not saying that, look, this executive order, I would not put it past them. I put a question mark on there because their goal is to disarm the American people. That is their goal. But I'm going to show you some video on that. Please hit the share button on this right now if you haven't already. But before we get to that, let me play this first one for you. This is with one of the generals, and he's just a one-star general. But nonetheless, he comes out and he talks about what happened with this Russian plane and the U.S. drone.
First of all, I would like to highlight U.S. European Command's statement released earlier today confirming that two Russian Su-27 aircraft conducted unsafe and unprofessional intercept with a U.S. Air Force intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance unmanned MQ-9 aircraft that was operating within international airspace over the Black Sea today. To recap, at approximately 7:03 a.m. Central European time, one of the Russian Su-27 aircraft struck the propeller of the MQ-9, causing U.S. forces to have to bring the MQ-9 down in international waters.
Now, what's interesting to me is that the plane got close enough to hit the propeller, but it didn't hit the wing of the drone, did not hit anything else, but hit the propeller and it took it down. That means they got really close. But this is international waters. So to my understanding, Russia can fly there, the United States can fly there, Japan can fly there, Israel can fly there. This is international waters we're talking about, right? But it's really interesting that the Russian plane got this close to it. I'm not saying, I don't believe this just me, but I don't believe anything that's coming out of the Pentagon here lately. I really don't, because we have woke generals. I'm not saying that this general is woke himself, but we have enough woke generals to make us all question about the U.S. military as of today.
Several times before the collision, the Su-27s dumped fuel on and flew in front of the MQ-9 in a reckless and unprofessional manner. This incident demonstrates a lack of competence in addition to being unsafe and unprofessional. U.S. Air Forces in Europe, Air Forces Africa routinely fly aircraft throughout Europe, over sovereign territory, and throughout international airspace in coordination with applicable host nation and international laws. In order to bolster collective European defense and security, these missions support allied, partner, and U.S. national objectives. As the U.S. Air Forces in Europe, Air Forces Africa commander emphasized in European Command statement, quote, U.S. and allied aircraft will continue to operate in international airspace, and we call on the Russians to conduct themselves professionally and safely. In separate news, Secretary Austin...
So they want the Russians to conduct themselves professionally. Can I ask the question about the pipeline? You remember the pipeline that supposedly no one knew who blew the pipeline up? Remember the Nord Stream 2 pipeline? Who blew that up? How did that happen? They're not talking about that. And now I'm not trying to bring that up, trying to deflect of what happened with Russia. No, and be clear, I'm not siding with Russia. I never sided with Putin. I've always said that Putin is a tyrant. I'll say it out loud. Putin is a tyrant. But we also have a tyrant in the White House right now as well. Our federal government has become a total tyrant against the American people. The federal government has been weaponized against the American people. Right? But still, do you think that this is possible? Could go ahead, what is Joe Biden going to do? Because I've always heard that, and I've always known this, right? When it comes to strong men, let me give you an example. President Trump, strong alpha male. They shot down one of the drones. And this was over Iran, if I'm not mistaken. They shot down this drone over Iran. And President Trump said, okay, look, because everyone was screaming, Sean Hannity, a whole bunch of people. I remember Hannity screaming, go to war, go to war, go to war. Even the Democrats were screaming for President Trump to go to war. President Trump stood back and said, wait a minute. All these people wanted me to go to war. President Trump said, look, I'll give you that one because no one was killed. There was no pilots in the plane. No one died on the ground. I'll give you that one, but don't do it again. You're going to regret it if you do it again. They didn't shoot down another one. That was President Trump showing strength, right? Now we have someone like Joe Biden, which is completely weak, doesn't even know where he is half the time. Someone who is weak, wanting the world to think that they are strong, will do stupid things. So that brings me to the point. Are we possibly going to see some stupid stuff happen? Listen to this general. Now, this is a 4-star general. And he's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know. What's going to happen?
A Russian fighter jet collided with a U.S. Reaper drone over the Black Sea today. What is your response to that?
This is probably my biggest worry, both there and in the Pacific, is an aggressive Russia or China pilot or vessel captain or something gets too close, doesn't realize where they are, causes a collision, and it's 2 a.m, and we're trying to unpack this as fast as we can. I really worry about that. In other words, either intentionally or unintentionally, things bumping into each other, causing a collision, and then 2 great nations, powerful nations, trying to sort it out at 2 a.m. Even more challenging because right now, on our side, on let's say the PRC, normally we would have communications with the PLAN, their military. It doesn't exist right now. They won't communicate with us. So the normal sort of many channels that you have to kind of quickly diffuse something, they're gone. They're not gone, but they're suspended right now. So I worry that something will happen at 2 a.m, and we can't talk to our counterpart to say, what the heck was that about? So I worry. I do.
Now, what's really interesting to me is that I'm sharing this information with you, and you'll have some politicians, some leftist commies will say, Will Johnson should not be able to talk about this information because people might get scared. Well, you know what? I think that you're capable enough. See, this is my problem. See, when I share this information with you, I share this information thinking that people are capable of thinking for themselves. Even if you don't agree with me, I still think that people are capable of making a rational decision on their own. I'm just sharing the information with you. And I always encourage people to go look at the information up themselves. Now, I'm playing a video for you. Now, I didn't get all these people to come together, these generals, and go behind these podiums and say this information, relay this information that he's like, I just don't know. I don't know. They don't know. They don't know. We have China look like they're about to go to war with the United States of America. We have Russia And with this collision with this plane in the airspace, and then China, I think it was supposed to happen today, or maybe it's supposed to happen tomorrow. China's supposed to talk to Zelensky, right? And I'm willing to bet that he's probably going to go to Zelensky and say, hey, you just need to give up. You just need to surrender, right? That's my thinking, because China's not going to fund Zelensky with any weapons to fight against Russia. So how do you think the talks are going to turn out in that? And again, it looks like that Russia and China, or specifically China, is gearing up to go to war with the United States of America. And I'm not telling you this because I'm just making it up, just pulling it out the air. The information is out there. We see what's happening. We see what they're doing. And which brings me to my next video that I want to share with you. This is about the banking system, right? We're still talking about the banking system. And there's a senator out of Arizona that's actually calling for the big tech companies to prevent anybody from talking about the banking system collapsing in the United States of America. And to my understanding, his reasoning for wanting to do that is because people are just talking about it. It has people on the edge. So basically, he's saying that if you tell people the information, they may react to it. I mean, isn't that the reason why you tell people information, so they will react to it? Now, I'm not saying people need to act irrationally, just go out there and, oh my goodness, run around like chickens with their head cut off. Oh my goodness, they're collapsing everything. I hope that's not the case. But anytime you have a government official going to the big tech companies and asking them to censor American people, this thing is bigger than we can imagine. It's probably more damaging, more terrifying than we can ever imagine when you have political officials going to big tech company, trying to get them to censor the American people, the same way they did with the Hunter Biden laptop. 100% factual. They knew it was factual, but the FBI went to Twitter and they're trying to act like, oh, that never even happened. When we saw the Twitter files, at least I did, that they publicly put out on Twitter, saying that they, the $3.4 million that they paid to Twitter. And then they also went to Twitter and had them shut it down. They've even admitted it. Right? You even have Twitter, some of the people in Twitter even admit it, but they trying to act like it never even happened. Let me share this one with you. This is again about the big banks. This is about the big banks. And it still looks like that we are not out of the water. And I've told people multiple times, and people used to send me messages, Will, you're fear-mongering. When I told people you need to prepare, and I had a link on my website, preparewithuaf.com, preparewithuaf.com. I had that on there, and people said, Will, you're just trying to get people to go to the website and buy stuff. I said, you know what? I told people to prepare regardless on how you do it. I just shared with people what I do. I don't know, if there was something else that I'm doing, I would share it with people. Of course, you go get like canned goods and stuff like that. We don't know what's going to happen here. We don't know. And I don't have a crystal ball to tell everybody. But listen to this.
How should we be interpreting Moody's decision now to downgrade the entire banking sector?
Well, it's certainly a sign of continued concern about these banks. Moody's says that they expect that banks are going to continue to remain under pressure for as long as the Federal Reserve hikes interest rates. They're warning they could downgrade 6 U.S. banks, including First Republic Bank, Western Alliance, and Comerica.
They're talking about downgrading banks. And if you ask me, all of this is on purpose. All of this is on purpose. And a lot of people go, of course, Will, it's on purpose. We all know it's on purpose. We know why they're doing this. We had high inflation, which they try to act like wasn't even happening. And you know what? Think about this. I sent a thing about this earlier today. When the United States of America went into 2 consecutive quarters of high inflation, right? 2 consecutive quarters. Technically, right, to my understanding, the way they had it before they changed the definition, that we were in a recession. They did this to us. So this is purposely being done. They didn't want people to pay attention to the high inflation, the recession that we're in. They didn't want people to pay attention to it. And now look what's happening. The banks, the Federal Reserve raising the interest rates, they're deliberately causing this to happen to the people in the United States of America. They're deliberately causing this to happen. They're deliberately doing it. And they're doing this because my personal opinion, because they want to go to the digital currency, which I've talked about it multiple times, and many people are aware of it. And I've mentioned it before. Joe Biden doing executive order. You can't make this stuff up, people. He did executive order, and I think it was about 18 months ago. I'm not exactly sure about the time, but he did it. He did in an executive order. Get this, saying that they're just looking into it. So now we have these issues with the banks. We have the issues with people coming across the border. We have the issue with, look like we're going to go to World War III, right? We have the issue of fentanyl being on currency. We have the issue of fentanyl just showing up in various places, killing people. This is it's like it's all playing out right into their hands the way they want it. Remember, let no crisis go to waste. So now they have this issue where they're wanting to implement a digital currency, because this ultimately is going to get to that. And every single person that sent me a message saying, Will, that won't happen in my lifetime. I notice you don't send me any messages any longer. People don't send me those messages saying, Will, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They would constantly send me the message. Now they don't even send me the message at all. Listen to this.
The monetary policy and the decisions of the federal government cannot be insulated. They can point all day at SVB and say, look, there were bad actors here, but they have four fingers pointing back at them because they're involved in this. And Biden, we saw him trying to avert blame to the last administration. The Wall Street Journal took that apart and said this still would have happened absent that 2018 bipartisan law that was passed that changed Dodd-Frank. But I want to point to this. The Biden administration, they must be out there planning stories. They know what they did was try to tamp down a crisis, because Axios headline, Inside Biden's SVB move to stop future bank runs. Politico, how Biden saves Silicon Valley startups. These headlines don't come about by chance. They come about because you have a White House who realizes that they gave what is, in essence, some could say a pseudo bailout, some would say not. They don't want to look like they are giving taxpayer dollars to these rich Silicon Valley execs. But we've got to ask the question, how did we get here? We go from crisis to crisis. Afghanistan, Ukraine, inflation, baby formula, bank runs. This wasn't happening during the 4 years of President Trump. It's happening now. And they want the narrative to be Biden saved the day. But the real narrative is Biden caused this. And but for the president of the United States, we would not be here.
Boom. That's exactly what I've been saying. They caused this. And if they don't cause the crisis, they'll take advantage of the crisis, let no crisis go to waste. They'll take advantage of it. This is what they've been doing, and this is what they want. I've said this multiple times about those on the left. They like chaos. They like animosity. They like turmoil. They like everything that is evil under the sun. They like it. I can go down a whole laundry list of different things that they like that is completely evil. And can you name anything that's evil that they don't like? Is there anything? This banking system is personally, look, and I told people right when I did a video when this kind of like first started breaking, I did a video, I think it was Sunday night or something like that, talking about it because someone else mentioned, hey, Will, there was another bank that happened, or maybe it was Monday night. I can't remember. But I was talking about it and people were saying, well, there was another bank. And actually, I thought it was just 2 banks, but come to find out there was 16 banks and this little bank getting ate up by big bank. And once they eliminate all of the small banks in the United States of America, they'll have more control, because then once they eliminate all of the small banks, the big banks can say, okay, you know what? We're flipping the switch. We're going completely digital. If you have cash, if you have any currency, stores, they can prevent stores from taking the cash because they'll tell the stores that we're no longer taking your cash. That way, it'll end up forcing people to go to the bank and take their cash to the bank. And it would not surprise me one bit if the banks said that people have a limited time to turn their cash in. Because think about this. Think about the people. Now, I know there's people out there. I don't. But I know there's people out there right now that have a lot of cash under their mattress. A lot of cash under their mattress. If the banks came and said that, hey, you got an X amount of time, it could say 6 months, right? You can say 6 months to turn all your money in. Imagine the people that have a great deal amount of cash on hand and they don't have any record of where they got that cash from, because there are people out there. You'll be surprised. And it's not that people did anything illegal, right? It's just some people have a lot of cash on hand. And when it comes to turning that cash in, I can see this happening as well. For every dollar, the government's going to tax you for turning it in. I'm telling you, this is not, now, I don't know if they're actually this pan out. This is just all a scenario, and I'm making sure I'm being clear that this is all scenario. But the way they've been so corrupt, we can see that's completely plausible for them to do that. Oh, look at all this money. But then once they get all of the money to become digital currency, because there's some stores right now, see, everything I'm telling you know is true. There's some stores right now that will refuse to take the American currency, refuse to take it here in the United States of America. And to my understanding, it is against the law. If I walk into a facility, a public business, and I have cash, I should be able to purchase whatever it is that I want to, because cash is a U.S. tender, USA tender. But you can't do that in some places. They will not allow you to purchase stuff. So they're already transitioning it. Have y'all noticed when y'all go to some of the stores and they have it where you take your card and you don't even have to swipe it. You don't even have to insert it with the chip. All you have to do is hold it on top of the scanner. Have y'all noticed some of that? I'm pretty sure y'all are aware of it. And it's really fast, right? If you put the chip in, it's slow going, and then you put in your PIN and it's a little bit slow and then go boom. Or if you swipe it, it's kind of slow, little slow. But if you take your chip and you just put it on top of the payment device, it immediately happens and say, boom, thank you. You can't tell me that's not by design. They're programming us to get used to with our hands. They're getting us used to just placing our hands on top of it and doing it. It's a slow process to manipulate people's minds. This, you know what? This is happening. We're all seeing it happen. And you know what? Where are all the people that used to send me the messages saying, well, this won't happen for another 60 years? You know, they don't send me any messages anymore. I'm like, I keep looking for the message from them, but they don't send them anymore. It's like, it's kind of like disappeared. Now, I don't know what the deal is. Maybe because now they were like, I didn't want to say Will was right. I don't want to be right. I don't want to be right. This stuff is crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Here, I have another one I want to share with you, talking about the banking system. And this is not to like scare anybody. This is just information that you should be able to have to make a determination on your own what you want to do. That's what it should be about. We're all adults, right? Most of us, we're all adults. And even if you're not an adult, I've noticed that young people watch my videos because they get it. They get it.
But does what happened with Silicon Valley Bank, does that change the calculus at all for the Fed, or does it illustrate what happens with the Fed's monetary policies?
I don't know that it changes the calculus as much as it actually just makes it incredibly clear that the fact that we have 40-year high inflation is challenging not only to folks who are struggling to pay their bills and cover a grocery bill, but also it's impacting our financial institutions. And many of the people working in these financial institutions have never seen interest rates at this pace. And now we look back and we can clearly see a handful of banks were poorly managed to deal with this.
President Biden earlier today at the White House came out and said that Dodd-Frank rollbacks are what contributed to this, I'm paraphrasing, but what contributed to this situation with Silicon Valley Bank. Do you agree with that?
The president and many on the left who supported the reckless spending in Washington and anti-energy policies are looking for a scapegoat. But I do think ultimately it's pretty clear what got us in this position. It's high inflation. And the inflation was caused by excessive spending in Washington, by energy policies that refuse to unleash American energy, and labor policies where we still find far too many people who are on the sidelines that we need to help get back to work.
You hear this? See, the reason why we got to this point because of inflation, not because of President Trump. Was very quick to blame President Trump for everything. And again, they create the chaos. And you know what is interesting? That what she said earlier, McAdany, it was interesting because I've said it multiple times before. They create the chaos and then they try to swoop in and try to act like they're there to save the day. They do it constantly. They create the chaos. Oh, look, Biden's here to save the day. And so many people buy into it. They think that Joe Biden is actually here to save the day, and Joe Biden is here to fix it. Okay, let me get into the title of tonight's broadcast. And I used to say that Joe Biden they probably already have an executive order already written up for Joe Biden to do an executive order, just to sign it, to take to if not hinder, not even completely take away, but to hinder our Second Amendment rights. With everything that's going on, I truly believe that something's getting ready to come down. Look how the left is constantly talking about defunding the police. It's not the people on the right. No one on the right. There's no MAGA Republicans. There's no conservatives. There's no Christians. No one on the right is talking about defunding the police. Now, we have talked about woke cops. At least I have, because there are some woke cops. And we've also talked about the corruption within the FBI. And I've also said that there are good men and women in the FBI that for some reason it's like they're just too afraid to do the duty that they swore to uphold by arresting these criminals in the hierarchy within the FBI. But the people in the FBI are too afraid. Right? So it's not that we want the FBI to go back to the glory days, to where they actually was bipartisan, where they were actually doing the will of the people, where they were not weaponized against the American people. That's what we want with the FBI. But Joe Biden and the Democrats all of a sudden pushing it that, hey, those on the right, they want to defund the police. Show me one video. They constantly say this stuff. They mouth it off. There's never a video of anybody saying it. There's no one out there marching around with signs saying defund the police, except for those on the left. You can't make this stuff up. These people are insane.
That we invest more in safer communities and expand access to mental health services for those affected by gun violence. Congressional Republicans should pass my budget instead of calling for cuts in these services or defunding the police or abolishing the FBI, as we hear from our MAGA Republican friends.
You hear this? And then he says our MAGA Republican friends. You hear this? You hear this after he called all of the more than half the country, domestic terrorists. And he's talking about my MAGA friends. They are, if you ask me, Joe Biden doing an executive order. They're doing this to hinder our Second Amendment rights because they have something coming down the pipeline. These people don't care about protecting the American people. If they really wanted to protect, let's say, children at schools, they would adopt the same policies that they adopted in Israel. The same policies. The teachers in Israel, when they go out into the playground, the teachers are armed. The teachers know how to use it. And then you hear the left, well, everybody in Israel has become part of the military. Well, let's make that a policy here. We don't have to make it a policy that they become part of the military. But if you want to become a teacher, make it a policy, or allow the teachers that want to learn how to use firearms, make it easy accessible for them. But they don't want to do that because they want to disarm every single American in the country.
What can be done?
Yeah.
What feasibly can be done to help prevent these types of school shootings?
Yeah. So there's no, magic key to solving everything. The first order decision is, are we going to work as a country on dealing with the number one killer of children under 21, which is gun violence? Once we make the decision as elected leaders, as citizens, that we want to work on that, then there's a lot of different things we can do. And I think Michigan is about to show the entire country what it means to have a tragedy and then act on it. We're going to pass at least some gun violence legislation. I think there's a package of 11 bills that are going through our legislature right now in Lansing. Universal background checks. If you're going to buy a gun, you should have to prove that you don't have a...
Now listen to this part. Because I've never known anyone to be able to, me personally, I'm pretty sure there's been cases, but I've never known anybody to be able to purchase a firearm without getting a background check. But see, just getting a background check, I can't even talk. Just getting a background check is not enough for them. They want more. They want more. And if you talk about mental illness in the country, mental illness comes in the form of liberalism. That is a mental illness. You're talking about these people that don't even know what a woman is, talking about mental health issues. So if we really, truly, wait a minute, hold on, before I finish this, if we truly wanted to end gun violence in the United States of America, we would make it to where every single registered Democrat in the United States of America is not able to own and bear arms if they want to. Why don't they practice what they preach? Put up or shut up. Be the example. Show all of us how it's done, right? Every single Democrat, if you own a firearm, get rid of them. Turn them in. Let it go. If you are a Democrat, get rid of your firearms, right? Get rid of them. Show us how it's done. Say, Republicans, we're going to show you how it's done. We're going to turn them all in. Do that. Put up or shut up. Put up or shut up. But they're not going to do that.
You know, some sort of warrant out that you're not going through some sort of crisis.
I mean, seriously, how are they going to determine if you're going through a crisis or not? Right? How are they going to determine that? Right now, the entire country is going through a crisis. So they can say, well, no one can own a firearm because the entire country is going through a crisis.
The big one from Oxford, safe storage. If you're a parent and you don't secure your weapon with a $10 gun lock, and your child takes that weapon and commits a crime, you should be charged as a parent.
It sounds like a common sense approach to this.
Sounds like a common sense approach. How about you charge the criminal? How about you get rid of cashless bail? How about the Democrats like Karine Jean-Pierre and the rest of them trying to make a less penalty for criminals? And the reason why they want to make it a less penalty for criminals, because they're all saying that it's racist because, you know, black people committing all these horrific crimes. And you don't believe me? Look it up. I remember it's about 4 or 5 years ago that I saw a study where 13% of the people in the country are black, you know, around 13.5, 13.2. About 6% of that 13 are black males. And out of that 6%, those black males commit 52% of the most violent crimes throughout the entire country. And then they wonder why the black male are getting arrested more than anybody else. They commit 52 of the most violent crimes in the country. Joe Biden and the Democrats are coming for it. I'm telling you, they're going to come for them. They're using everything they can to let no crisis go to waste. They are going to come.
In the meantime, my executive order directs my attorney general to take every lawful action possible to move us as close as we can to universal background checks without new legislation.
You hear this? Now, how many of y'all believe anything that Joe Biden says? And he's trying to talk about, you know, a universal background checks. Again, I've never known anybody. Maybe you have, but I've never known anybody. I've gone to some of these gun shows and they won't allow you to purchase one until you do a background check. So what's in the executive order that they're not telling us? And I've actually talked to police officers, and some police officers go, well, if they do the background, if they decide to come and start taking them from everybody, the police officers that I talked to said, if you're going to come tell us to take them from everybody, the police officer said, we're just going to turn right back at them and say, no, you go take them, because we're not going to disarm the people. I've had multiple police officers say that. Now, when it comes down to it, will they change your mind? Will there be something to be like, okay, yeah, we need to take them up? No, there's nothing under God's green earth or blue earth, however you want to look at it, nothing there that will validate the federal government that has been weaponized against the American people to come take our Second Amendment rights away. There's nothing there. Nothing. But yet they don't care. They're going to attempt to do it anyways. And I've told many people that this day is coming. This day is coming. Is so bad. You know what? I was going to play this next one for you, but I'm not going to play it. This next one is kind of, they, you know, how they protect the demons. I'm going to skip that one. I'm going to go to this one because the Democrats, this is what the Democrats have been creating. This is what they've been creating throughout the country. Portland is so bad. There's a mad exodus from Portland right now. A mad exodus from Portland. The last 2 Walmarts are leaving. They said that a Nike store shut down because they kept getting robbed. Right? So if you have a city with people in it and they don't have any means of buying food, what happens to the people? They're going to have to move out. And it's almost like design. Maybe they're getting all the people to move out so China can come in and purchase it and just set up shop. I mean, really, that's what it looks like. But you know what comes to mind for me with them doing this, with the gun control that they're implementing, with the invasion on our southern border, with the banking system going down, with Portland in this situation, we are seeing them push communism 100% into our country. This is communism. This is a result of communism, which actually wokeism, communism, socialism, all three are the same. This is a result of it.
So we see these pictures and these videos of these tents. They're all seemingly empty, or so you guys are saying, because the activists, the homeless activists, are putting these up, and it's just encouraging them to stay on the streets. When did this start, and where is it happening? Is it all over the city? Is it isolated in one area?
Well, I would first like to say that it's kind of been a West Coast phenomenon, primarily in the large West Coast cities, San Francisco, Seattle, Portland. We first noticed it actually in Seattle, Washington, but in Portland over the last few months, it's become more of a common occurrence where we see activists as simply erecting tents, not for anyone specific, but just for anybody who would like to enter that tent.
You hear this? You hear this? This is activists doing this. Activists setting it up because they want to cripple the city. They're doing this on purpose. None of this is just happening. It's not you wake up one day and it's all happening. They're doing this on purpose.
Sadly, these tents are oftentimes used for drug use and other type of negative behaviors. So there's no real attempt, I would say, on just sheltering them and trying to help them. They're used for other negative causes. It just makes our jobs harder. The people out there working hard every day to try to end this humanitarian crisis, which means to end homelessness.
Do you think these activists who are setting these tents up are doing this with good intentions, or do you think there's an ulterior motive?
Oh, I can answer that for you. They're not doing this for good intentions. They're doing this because they want communism to come in the country. And this is what communism looks like. This is 100% what communism looks like. And there's not a single leftist on the left that's saying that they don't want this. Where are they at? They should be screaming, we need to stop this. We need to fight against this. Not a single one of them are speaking out against this.
I would say there's definitely an ulterior motive. For one, they want to destabilize the community. Because you put up a tent,
Isn't that what communism is all about? Destabilizing, right? Not just a community. They want to destabilize a city, a state, a country, a nation, a planet. That's what communism is all about.
One tent oftentimes then attracts 50 tents within days, right? And they'll put them up in front of a bank, a business, city councilor, whoever, and before you know it, you have a homeless encampment, and that can completely destabilize a community. And the reason why they do this is they need the blight to be seen.
Now, listen to this, because, of course, all of these leftists, they hate, what do they hate? They hate capitalism, right? They hate it because capitalism is part of the reason why this country is so blessed. Part of the reason.
And if the blight is seen, it proves that capitalism is the cause of all the world's problems. And that's really what it comes down to is they say capitalism has caused homelessness, addiction, and everything else. And so, for example, if a good outreach team has successfully restored a park, helped everyone, got them in the housing, what we've seen is sometimes these activists will go back to this perfectly restored park and put tents back up. Because guess what? It's just looking too good. If the blight is seen, it proves their point in their own minds that capitalism has, is the root of all evil, really.
You hear that? Capitalism is the root of all evil, according to the left. But socialism, we need to embrace socialism. We need to embrace it. It's so great. It's so great. Socialism. No. Socialism is just the gateway to communism. So there was here in the state of Texas, there's this little town called Georgetown, Texas. And they have a Confederate statue in Georgetown, Texas. And every second weekend of the month, and the first time was this past weekend. And there's a farmer's market out there, and a lot of times people just have, they sell some food and stuff out there, but it's primarily like for people, arts and crafts, and people sell their stuff like that. But sometimes they have food out there. But anyways, every single time they have this, every second weekend of the month, I try to go at some point. And the reason why I go is because they have this Confederate statue there, which I personally, as a black man in the United States of America, believe that the Confederate statue should remain there. So we are reminded of our past, reminded of our history, so we don't repeat the past. But there's a group of communists that show up every single weekend to protest against the statue being there, and they want to take it down. Well, now, let me remind you, this is a Democrat statue. Right. Just like McCarthy mentioned about all the pictures on Capitol Hill, the ones that they want to remove happen to be all Democrats. Right. Because they were all racist. It's the same Democrat Party then as it is today. There's no switch. There was nothing ever changed. You can't prove me wrong on it because you can't. And well, anyways, there's this group that's there on the weekend. They have a picture of Martin Luther King on the table as if Martin Luther King is their champion. And I bring up the fact that Martin Luther King was a Republican. And then I asked him the question, so exactly when did the party switch? Because you said that they switched. Why would Republicans that freed slaves all of a sudden say, well, you know what? We changed our mind. And why would the Democrats that wanted to keep black people enslaved all of a sudden, okay, well, we changed our mind. We want them to be free. That doesn't make any sense. And there was what caused the switch? And they go, well, it was over a period of time. The switch happened over a period of time. No, what happened was that the Democrat Party, very good at lying. Look at Karine Jean-Pierre. Look at Jen Psaki. Look at Joe Biden. Look at Nancy Pelosi. Look at Chuck Schumer. Look at Jerry Nadler. Look at all of these people lie as a profession. They all lie as a profession, right? So the Democrat Party as a whole have been lying to society ever since. There's not been a single time that they never lied. And a lot of people saying what the Democrat Party, they used to be for freedoms. I think it was just them lying that they were for freedoms, because we're still talking about the same Democrat Party that wanted to enslave black people. That's never changed. There's not a single time there's been Republicans ever pushed for slavery for in the United States of America. It's only been the Democrat Party. Now, some people don't like to hear that because it's 100% true. I struggled with it when I first found out. When I started reading and I started looking up more information about it, I was struggling with it. I said, this can't be true. There's no way this can be true. There's no way that the Republican Party started so black people can have representation. There's no way. And I struggle with it. And it was like, there's no way that the Republican Party had the first black senator. There's no way. I struggled with it. But today, the Democrat Party through CRT would never allow anyone to know that actual history, because that's what they do. They lie and they change history. They want to change what it is. And the reason why I brought up the story about the Georgetown is because after they get people to sign this petition, right? They get people to sign this petition. It doesn't matter if you're in state or out of state, in town, out of town. They have two different petitions for you to sign. They're just taking signatures, right? So people come sign it. And then they were handing out American flags afterwards. And, you know, me being who I am, I said, when they hand out the American flags to a lot of these people that come and sign, and I tell them, I said, you know, if you want to be racist, you know, you sign this paper to have the statue removed. And they don't like it because the black guy's out there telling them this. And then they hand them the American flag. I said, yeah, they're handing you American flag because they ran out of the hammer and sickle. Oh my goodness, they get so triggered. Now, I don't call them names or anything, but there's this one particular black dude there. I don't even know why I'm telling you this story. I do have some videos, but I don't even know why I'm telling you the story. But there's this one particular black dude that shows up there all the time. I've seen him twice now, actually. And he doesn't do anything but insult me, right? Like it's going to hurt my feelings. Like, oh my goodness, this guy is calling me names. You know, he's calling me names because he doesn't like the fact that I'm thinking for myself. But that's all he'll do that. He won't have a conversation with me, a rational conversation, but he'll find a time to just insult me. Or when someone comes up and I'm talking to them, he'll just blurt out and just insult me every single time, every chance he gets. It's very interesting. But you know what? I love being awake, not woke, but I love being awake because I know that Jesus Christ is in control. I know that with all this crazy stuff that I'm sharing with you, I know that Jesus is in control. And you're going to have to forgive me because a lot of times when I'm sharing all this crazy stuff with you and I know it's crazy and I'm sharing it with you, I have in my mind that people have I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody by any means, because, you know, I'm always saying that, you know, Will Johnson is flawed. But I always have the back of my mind that people have the same faith that I do. Right. And again, I'm not claiming to be better than anybody. Some people probably, I'm pretty sure there's more people have more faith than I do. I'm willing to bet there's more people out there that have more faith than I do. But I'm sitting there thinking that, you know, because I don't have, you know, as much faith as I think I should have. Right. I should have enough faith to where I could just stand up and start floating in the air, right? I should have that much faith, but I don't. And I'm not sugarcoating it with you. I'm not lying to you. I should have enough faith. And see, that's where my thinking comes in, that I should have enough faith. I can just stand here and just start floating in the air, not have to jump off a building, and just start floating and going up, right? That's the type of faith that I want to achieve. But I keep thinking that a lot of people have the same level of faith, thinking that, you know, because they know that God wins in the end. We know what happens at the end of this story. But some people get so fearful and they want to protect their flesh. But anyways, again, like I said, I have to apologize because I don't share this stuff with you because I want you to be afraid, because God is not the God of fear. He's not. I'm just a messenger sharing it with you so you will be informed. And so that you know to get ready, so that you know that you put all your trust and faith in God. Look, let me put it this way. My level of faith that I have in God, I don't have a choice, because these people, they're completely evil. I see what they're doing, and they don't like Will Johnson. They really don't. I mean, I go to the gym and the guy's taking a picture of me. And don't even ask me any questions. He just take a picture of me. And I know he's seen me before, and I know he sent it to somebody, but these people, they do not like me. Not because I've called for violence, because I don't. Not because I showed nudity, because I don't. Not because I curse, because I don't. All I do is talk about what they're doing, and they don't like me. Wow. So how many of you don't like me? Because all I'm doing is sharing what's happening in our world today, so we will all be informed. That's all that I'm doing. And I do it because I believe God called me to share information. And for those of you that don't know, before I started doing these videos, I even struggled doing this. I know God wanted me to do this, and I was fighting God. I said, God, there's no way that you possibly want me to get in front of a camera and talk to people. I said, no one's going to listen to me. No one wants to hear what I have to say. No one wants to hear that. I was struggling with it. I was fighting God with it, to the point to where I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And I had this humongous calling. I can't explain it. This humongous thing. It was so huge. It was like on my chest. It put me in the hospital. It put me in the hospital because I didn't want to do what I'm doing right now. I was doing IT. I was making six figures a year. I wasn't doing this. I was like, not doing videos or anything like that, but I couldn't resist any longer. And once I started doing this, chest pains went away. Now I still have issues. Of course, I'm human, right? I need to eat better. I need to eat right. I need to exercise more. I've been going to the gym. I've been trying to do more, right? But I was struggling with it. These people don't like me. And that's why I'm constantly asking people to share my videos, because without your support, I can't do this. And that's why I always pray, Lord, please put it on your people's heart to help me, to support me. I do that all the time. Before I come on here, I said, Lord Jesus, thank you so much. Lord Jesus, give me the strength. Give me the words. Because I know the battle that we're in. I see the battle that we're in. This whole insanity, how a person that is not even identifying as themselves, right, as they were born, and then they want to come after us and penalize us because we don't want to play along with it. This is the world that is in absolutely upside down. It's insane, and it's getting worse. It's getting worse. And again, this is what I'm saying. I'm not saying this to get you fearful, get you anxiety. Don't allow anxiety to set in, because that is of Satan. When you feel that anxiety, because I'll be honest with you, sometimes I feel outside. I know this is Satan trying to get me to feel anxiety. I know it is, because I'm doing God's will. And I know it is. I know this evil entity is trying to come at me, and it's a demonic spirit. It is 100% a demonic spirit. And ever since I started doing what God intended me to do, and I truly believe this is what God intended me to do, to speak out, to share information with people, to say, people, I'm just like you. I'm worse than you are, right? I'm a sinner. I'm a flawed man, but we're all in this together, the body of Christ. This is the time for all of us to start recognizing and believing and trusting in our Lord Jesus Christ. This stuff is happening right now. And everything that I share with you, I'm sharing what is happening in the world, right? And that's not to say that, because some people go, well, you know what? Well, I'm in the world, but I'm not of the world, right? You hear that? Well, do you think Christ was walking around saying, well, I'm in the world, but I'm not of the world? Do you think he was walking around saying that? No, he wasn't. He came into the world to save his children. It was the word made flesh to save his children. And what we're seeing today, how they're rejecting God so much more. And they've rejected God so much in the past, but they're rejecting God so much more today. They're rejecting. I've actually had someone tell me that these men that are wanting to become women, and because they have it in their mind, they're thinking, they said, well, if they identify in their mind, that's what they are. Well, the reality of it is that's not what they are. Someone acting like a little dog or a cat. And so I'm a dog, woof, woof, woof. Most men are dogs, woof. But if they're sitting there going around and saying, I identify as a dog, that's when the mental issue comes into play. And it's because of a demonic spirit. There's a demonic spirit getting people to reject who they are. And these people, and this person told me that God makes mistakes because these people are saying that they're not in the right body. Their mind tells them one thing, but their body says another. What it is a demonic spirit is telling them one thing, and they're completely ignoring the reality. We're so close. We're so close to the end of the story when it comes to the Bible. We're so close. We're closer. Of course, we're closer than any other generation behind us, right? Because we are where we are. That goes without saying. But we're so close that millions upon millions of people don't need someone like Will Johnson to tell them that we are in the last days. You don't need Will Johnson to tell you. People see it happening. Unless you're living under a rock, unless you purposely not paying attention, you know the times that we're living in. It's not Will Johnson making it up. It's not. And ever since I've started doing this, when I meet people, when I talk to people, when I look at videos and I'm seeing these people talk, I used to look at people as far as their flesh. But then I start looking at people as spiritual beings. Have you ever done that? Because when you start looking at people as spiritual beings that we're just spiritual beings walking around in these fleshly bodies. But when you start looking at it, you actually see how demonic some of these people are. You see that demonic demon. There's a video, and I'm just going to put up on the screen, but I'm not going to play it because I know if I play it, they will most definitely penalize me for playing this. But let me put this up on the screen for you. Where is it at? And I'm just going to put it in one particular shot here so you'll see what I'm talking about. All right. I'm just going to put this up on the screen. I'm not going to play it because they'll penalize me if I were to play this. You see this image here. This is actually a man and a woman. Okay. This is a man and a woman. Now, let me mute it here. That's the man, right? That's the man there. And I want to get to a picture of the woman. This is the woman. Okay. The other one was a man. I used to think this woman was beautiful. You know, like she was in Charlie's Angels. I thought she was pretty. When I was a little bit younger, I kind of had a crush on her. I did. I'm just being honest. I thought she was pretty because I liked the way she looked. But now that I'm seeing people in a different way, I look at people, when I meet people, I meet them in a different way, and I look at them in a different way. You can see the demonic demon in them. You can see the demonic demon. You see it, right? You can see it. And they try to, and see, Satan tries to paint it like they're really nice, really nice. Satan has a way on deceiving so many people. So many people. I remember when I was in California and I used to ride the train going back and forth to work, and I had a coworker at the time, and they showed this dude was dressed up and had the dress on and had the makeup on and everything. And my coworker, who has a wife and kids, we're going, and I was like, and I showed him, I said, look, I said, dude, I said, this is a dude, right? This was like years ago. This is maybe 5 years ago. And he said that he would date that. He said, oh, I would date that. I'm like, what? I said, that's a dude. And he go, well, I don't care. I'm like, wow. I was at a loss for words. Like right now, like he said, I don't care. It makes me think about that whole episode with the students there. And they asked the guy, would you have sexual relations with a hot man that's dressing like a woman, or with the oldest woman on the planet? He said with the oldest woman on the planet, and the females blew up on her, got angry with the guy. He said, no, I mean, I'm not going to deviate from what the truth is. I'm not going to, just because. And they said, and they go, well, I know people, I'm trying to hold with my words here, but I know people that are like this, and you're just being hateful. And then they try to make the connection saying that you're not a Christian because you won't give up your values and have relations with another man. They're literally saying this. This is another indication of the times that we're living in. And this type of mindset is actually growing. It is growing. I can only imagine what it's like for men and women that are in their 80s and looking at all of this insane stuff, how it was from when they were children to the way it is now. I can only imagine what you're thinking looking at this world. And you're probably like, man, I'm glad I'm getting ready to check out, right? Because it's insanity, right? I mean, I would imagine, don't do it. Don't, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of people, you know what I'm talking about, because this is crazy. This is crazy. This is Sodom and Gomorrah all over again. This is just like it was in the days of Noah. It is happening. It is going down right now. It's going down right now. Please share this video. And thank you so much for the blessings. God bless and good night.